What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and Five Nights at Freddy's is one of the most popular indie games of all time. Created and released in 2014 by indie developer Scott Cawthon, the horror game was his first hit and changed his life. The combination of the clever and interesting gameplay, hidden lore which generated online conversation, and of course YouTubers like Markiplier making the game go absolutely viral. Several more Five Nights at Freddy's games would be released with months in between them, which not only shows how ready Cawthon was to capitalize on his first successful game, but also revealed that this now franchise had much longer legs than anyone could have expected. With over 10 video games released, 2 proper Hollywood movies being box office bangers, and tons of merch and toys being made. As you might expect from the title, we'll be discussing FNAF toys in this video, which have had a long and rocky history, with Funko first gaining the master license in 2015. I became a FNAF fan when the first movie came out, and then I decided to watch all the game theory videos to figure out what the lore is. Since then, I've been a casual fan of the franchise, even though I'm way too much of a baby to actually play the games. But I think a lot of the concepts of the series are really interesting, though I also feel like the story that goes with these concepts is barely explained, which is insane because fans are still discussing what each game means over 10 years later. But as a toy enthusiast, my true interest is in how these games were adapted into plastic and vinyl. So if you're into nerds yapping about horror game toys, this channel is for you. And maybe like and subscribe while you're here. It ain't extra. Like I said earlier, Funko got the FNAF license in 2015, and it's been a staple franchise in their company since then. Funko is primarily known for their Pop line of vinyl figures, and it almost feels redundant to explain that since they're so universal. Funko actually started out making bobbleheads. The Wacky Wobblers were their flagship brand before Pops exploded in the early 2000s. Now there's like 100 Funko Pops from the FNAF line, and to be honest, I have little to no interest in talking about them. No hate to any Pop fans watching, there's just not much to say. There are a lot of characters, and I think they generally look good, though I think the line has a problem with unnecessary repaints. There's blacklight, tie-dye, and holiday versions of the characters, but I don't know, maybe FNAF fans actually like these variants. And the Funko Pop line is without a doubt the most extensive line of FNAF toys, with many cases of Pops being the only way to get certain characters. So I can't hate Pops too much, but my main interest lies with Funko's action figure line. Funko has had a rocky relationship with action figures. Every time they attempt to make them, they just come out a bit weird, or the toys sell so bad that the line never makes it past the first wave. I remember being excited that they were making Magic the Gathering action figures, but those fell short of my expectations, and the line ended after just one wave. There are many other cases of Funko's action figures not being great, but let's discuss their Five Nights at Freddy's figure line, which in my opinion did actually start off great. The first wave is exactly what you'd expect. Our classic 4 animatronics, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, which all look really good. With no prior action figures to compare them to, I can totally see why these are some beloved figures. But there was also a golden Freddy repaint in the wave, and each individual figure came with a piece of Springtrap, which you could build once you bought the whole wave. I love the concept of Build-A-Figures, and this is kind of the perfect Build-A-Figure wave, with 4 unique characters, 1 repaint, and a completely new Springtrap mold, who looks great by the way. Springtrap is one of my favorite designs, and I think this toy does a great job of replicating his look. These figures aren't perfect though. For the articulation, they heavily rely on ball joints, which isn't bad necessarily. Ball joints can provide a large range of motion, but they can easily pop on and off and get really loose. And the ball joints for the first few FNAF waves in particular are very weak, leaving many of the figures prone to falling apart. I get why they went with using ball joints. Every animatronic has an endoskeleton inside of the suit, so the ball joints kind of mimic that, but they're just so unreliable. I have heard for figures from Wave 5 and beyond, it's less of an issue though, thankfully. Wave 2 skipped the toy animatronics from FNAF 2 in favor of FNAF 4's Nightmare animatronics, twisted versions of the core group group were featured, with a high degree of sculpting to show off the detail of their gnarled forms. This wave also featured Funtime Foxy, the non-mangled form of Mangle from FNAF 2. And the Build-A-Figure of Wave 2 was Nightmarion, an evil form of the puppet, which looks cool but can't stand thanks to its peg legs. Wave 3 was themed around the 5th FNAF game, Sister Location. This wave featured new characters like Circus Baby and Ballora, as well as Funtime Freddy and the Sister Location version of Funtime Foxy, with the Build-A-Figure being Inard. I think this wave is kind of peak. I love the Circus Baby as a design, and Ballora also got a pretty unique toy. She has a stand so she can do proper ballerina poses. Funtime Freddy is my favorite. I think he looks great, and I love that he has a Bonnie puppet. Just a cool design. Inard is a very weird looking character, but the sculpting and detail in the design is very nice. Wave 4 would be based on the Pizzeria Simulator game, featuring the Rockstar versions of Freddy and Foxy. I kind of hate Rockstar Freddy's design, I don't know why, but Foxy has an accordion and a parrot, which is pretty fun. The other figures in the wave are Orville Elephant, Pig Patch, and El Chip, who are characters from the Mediocre Melody, a band of animatronics in-universe. They're kinda cool, I guess. Though the whole band never got made, which is unfortunate, the Build-A-Figure of this wave was Scrap Baby, a patchwork and disheveled version of Circus Baby. She has such a badass design. I love the big-ass claw hand, and the toy sculpting looks great. You could also get Lefty from the game, which was a Walmart exclusive. I think these first 4 waves are very strong. There are issues, most of which have to do with inaccuracies to the in-game models, but personally, as a casual FNAF fan, I couldn't care less about Freddy having top teeth or other minor mistakes like that, though some fans do care, and that's also very valid. Wave 5 would be a distinct turning point for the line though. This wave is based on Security Breach. For those out of the loop, Security Breach has a lot of issues, both gameplay and story-wise, and basically served as a lesson learned for Scott Cawthon, being as Ruin, the Security Breach DLC, and Secret of the Mimic were received much better. Security Breach featured Freddy and Chica in radical new glam rock designs, while also introducing new characters Montgomery Gator and Roxanne Wolf. I think the in-game designs are very cool, though they shed off so much of that nostalgic Chuck E. Cheese animatronic vibe that they don't really seem scary anymore. Funko's toys of these characters look terrible. Glamrock Freddy looks like normal Freddy just wearing the Glamrock look. His head also looks a bit too big to me. Glamrock Chica's head looks even bigger. It definitely doesn't fit her more slim body. Montgomery Gator looks very stubby compared to his in-game model, and apparently his head is a remold of the Funtime Freddy head, which just seems a bit lazy. Roxanne Wolf doesn't look that bad, but she looks really lifeless to me. All of the Glamrocks do, to be honest, which is fine for other scarier animatronics, but the Glamrocks are so animated and these figures seem so stiff. The final figure is Vanny, the main antagonist of Security Breach, who is a follower of Glitch Trap, an AI based on William Afton or something. I don't know, the modern FNAF lore feels more confusing the more you learn, but Vanny is a human and serial killer just like Afton. Vanny has a cool look to her, but unfortunately her Funko toy looks bizarre, being built the same way as the animatronics with just very obvious ball joints. She just doesn't look human, which is weird. This wave was definitely a miss, and I think from here on out, Funko's choices with the line start becoming worse and worse. Wave 6, for example, featured chocolate versions of the main trio, which I think are so ugly and pointless. Apparently, they're from a game called FNAF AR, which is some sort of Pokemon Go style game with FNAF characters, but it's mostly known for the many variant versions of the characters, like these chocolate ones. Funko would make many of these AR toys, but we'll discuss them later. Wave 7 was based on the Help Wanted DLC called The Curse of Dreadbear, which featured some pretty gnarly looking animatronics. Dreadbear himself is a Frankenstyle Freddy who looks very intimidating. I think Grim Foxy looks really cool. I like his giant pirate hook. Wave 7 also featured Glitch Trap, the antagonist of Help Wanted. Glitch Trap is a computer program, but like Vanny, he just looks like a human in a suit, so the toy does look a bit weird with its exposed joints. Wave 8 is what I can only describe as the beginning of the end, featuring figures all based on the AR phone game, like Radioactive Foxy and Toxic Springtrap. What's actually insane about this wave is that they made the toys of the digital skins for the toy animatronics, but if you remember, Funko never made a wave based on FNAF 2. So these were the first and only Funko action figures based on the toys. I can't say I hate how they look either. I am a sucker for clear plastic, and High Score Chica looks like a PlayStation 2 controller I owned as a kid. This wave also featured some exclusives in the form of Shamrock Freddy, a St. Patrick's Day themed Freddy, which is, yeah, and the pinnacle of truly pointless FNAF figures in this line, Liberty Chica. What the actual hell, man. I don't think I've ever witnessed a toy that needed to exist less. And they were making this instead of proper toy animatronics, or even taking another go at the glam rocks. But nah, the fandom obviously craves Chica dressed like the Statue of Liberty. Wave 9 is utterly bizarre. It's based on a bunch of characters that just don't exist. These designs were apparently supposed to be paired with a game called FNAF Balloon Circus, which got cancelled or something, it's really unclear. But behold an entire wave of characters in a new cartoony style. I think they look fine design-wise, I like the style anyway. Though it's kind of crazy they modified the toy line for these guys and not the glam rocks. These figures look so different from every other wave, and are just a total oddity. Wave 10 again featured holiday AR suits, this time in the form of a Christmas theme. They really went and made new molds of the whole crew too. Foxy even got a nutcracker gimmick, which is admittedly cool, but again, why on earth are they putting so much effort into these figures? This wave also did feature two new characters from Security Breach, Sun and Moon, which is great. Funko should have been filling in the casts of the games like this already, and these two are much more accurate to the game than the other Security Breach toys. Wave 11 would be the final wave of Funko FNAF action figures, based on the DLC for Security Breach called Ruin. This short wave of only 3 figures included Ruined Chica, Ruined Roxanne, and Eclipse. I think the Ruined figures look incredible, especially Chica, whose face is all screwed up, and Roxanne Wolf has no face at all. Eclipse also looks good, though it is a simple remold of Sun and Moon. They did end the line on a high note, I'll give Funko that, but overall I think Funko handled the FNAF toy line pretty poorly. They had a good thing going for the first few waves, but the merciless onslaught of ugly repaints, spending resources on retools for ugly holiday specific toys, and completely failing the Security Breach line as well as totally ignoring the FNAF 2 animatronics really showed that Funko was not being smart with this toy line, and you can see why it was ultimately taken away from them. I know Funko still handles a lot of FNAF merch to this day, including their continued Pop and Mystery Minis lines, but they lost the master license of the franchise, so now the action figure and plushie line is being handled by a different company called Jazwares. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and would like to support me further, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. For $1 a month, both give you the same things. Access to member-exclusive bonus videos like this one where I talk about Bindi and the Ink Machine toys, and you also get an invite to my super chill Discord server. Alright, ad over, thank you. Before we get into the Jazwares line though, I did want to touch on YouTooz, because I feel like a big enough deal in the FNAF community. YouTooz is a company that was started to make vinyl figures based on YouTubers and streamers. The figures were similar to Pop's, big-headed caricatures, but YouTooz definitely had their own in-house style. As the brand grew, they began to pick up more than just YouTubers, and started working with proper big franchises, making them even more similar to Funko. I don't really know how this works, but YouTooz got the license to make their own vinyl figures for FNAF. So both YouTooz and Funko are making vinyl toys for FNAF these days, which is kinda funny. In my opinion, YouTooz is so much better than Funko Pops. I greatly prefer their designs, which look so animated while being very static. And they're a bit more cool because some of them have extra features like swappable heads, though their releases are more expensive while also being limited runs, and it can take a long time for them to actually produce the figures you pre-order. YouTooz started releasing FNAF figures around Security Breach, and they've covered a lot of the modern era FNAF characters, like the Ruined Glamrocks, Glitch Trap, and even the Mimic, while also covering classics like the OG crew, the Wizards, the Toys, and the Nightmares. YouTooz is even one of the few few companies to actually cover the FNAF movie, with several figures being dedicated to human characters from the film, like Doug, the lawyer guy from the first movie, who inexplicably shows up in the second movie, getting a reveal like he's Captain America in Infinity War for some reason. The Yellow Rabbit is a badass figure. Not only do I love the suit design, but you can swap out the rabbit head to Afton's head, just like the movie. And just like with Funko, there are some oddities, like Watermelon Chica here, which is apparently based on a fan in-joke about the Phantom Chica model. That feels so niche to turn into a toy. And there's also Cake Freddy. I don't know why he's a cake, but he does look delicious. Springtrap is my favorite character, and I think his YouTooz looks fantastic. But I also really like this pixelated purple guy. It looks just like the game art, but in 3D, and that's so fun to me. Overall, I think YouTooz is really consistent with their handling of FNAF, and while the higher entry price does suck, you're also getting a higher quality product. Jazwares has been around for a long time. I primarily know them as the company that makes Halo figures, as well as the first company to make Fortnite action figures. Both good lines in my experience, and they have plenty of other big name brands under their belt. So when it was announced that Jazwares was getting the FNAF license, I was pretty excited, because I disliked most of Funko's offerings when I got into the franchise, and I didn't want to start collecting the figures they were selling. It didn't help that the figure I saw the most was Liberty freaking Chica. Our first look at these figures came during Toy Fair 2025, where we got to see these new FNAF figures for the first time. I was very excited because I thought they looked great, but also a little strange. So there's two main Jazwares action figure lines. The main line aimed towards kids is called World of FNAF. And these are simple figures with simple articulation. Though they do have some surprises like drop down hips, they all share a jump scare gimmick. Pressing a button on their back will raise their arms and make their mouth open, as if they're jump scaring you in the game. Some of them work better than others though. Jazwares pulled a 1000 IQ move and made the first wave of the World of FNAF figures the toy animatronics. Not only because the FNAF 2 movie, which featured them, was right around the corner, but also because Funko had never made proper toy animatronic figures. So Jazwares was introducing something totally new to fans that had been buying the Funko figures, which is really smart. World of FNAF is more of a kid-orientated budget line, so the figures are not super detailed. They're very toyetic, as in they look more like a toy than a replica of the animatronics, which I think can be divisive, especially when Funko was going for the more accurate, detailed route, but I personally think these guys are a lot of fun. Wave 1 featured the toy versions of Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie, all of which have fairly decent articulation, though their heads are static due to the jump scare feature, so they can't really look side to side. Due to their budget nature, the figures also don't come with accessories. Chica doesn't even have the cupcake, which is unfortunate and makes these guys feel a little bit incomplete. There was also a Mangle figure in Wave 1, which is really cool because Mangle is so unique looking. Wave 2 of the World of FNAF line has been shown off but not released to my knowledge. Wave 2 will feature the animatronics from FNAF 1, though it's a bit different. The wave has two single-carded figures, Bonnie and Freddy, both of which look good to me, retaining the jump scare feature from Wave 1. The three other figures in Wave 1 come in bigger packs, featuring not only the action figure, but pieces to build the office from the first FNAF game, which is just so fun. Golden Freddy comes with the main office, which is packed with all of the security televisions, fan, and classic poster. Golden Freddy himself looks very bright yellow. The other two sets are the left and right doors that come with Chica and Foxy. Chica looks spot on to me, while Foxy looks like he fell down the stairs and had to get a neck brace. While most of the animatronics' necks are hidden, Foxy's neck is very visible. So to make the jump scare gimmick work, they had to make his neck more thick, which just kinda makes him look really awkward, though I do find him weirdly charming. This set of 3 in general is awesome. It would be cool if they released enough sets over time to build the whole pizzeria. That would be insane though, so maybe they'll stick to making other security rooms from the series. While the World of FNAF series is aimed more towards kids, there is a collector grade line, but it's a bit weird. The Indo series perplexed me when I first saw footage of the toys. Every Indo series figure comes with an Indo skeleton, which is pretty posable and fun to play with, by the way. Each set also comes with 2 sets of animatronic pieces. For example, this set has Classic Freddy and Withered Freddy pieces. This is a really interesting take on a collector's line, because while they are posable, fairly accurate, and fun, they also have this really interesting armor play pattern that kinda gives you a 2-in-1 package. I have the Bonnie set, which features classic Bonnie and withered Bonnie. I really like this set, but I do have some issues with the concept, mainly that when I construct one animatronic, I'm left with the pieces of the other animatronic. I really wish there were single endoskeleton packs you could buy, so you could construct both figures. When I first saw these, I was worried the figures would fall apart too easily, but they have really solid construction, and after playing with it for a bit, I stopped worrying about that. Bonnie's ears do stick straight up, which looks a little bit silly, but his head is made of two separate pieces, so it kinda had to look like that. I also wish he came with his guitar at least. I think a lot of fans will not like this system, and would just prefer regular action figures, but I think the Indo series is weird and fun, which is good because I think FNAF is weird and fun. Wave 2 features Foxy and Chica. Both forms of Chica look good to me, but again, Foxy looks a bit weird. Specifically, the paint job on his chest is kind of strange. I would have expected the rips and tears on the figure to be painted black, but they're actually brown. Apparently this was Scott Cawthon's decision, as he's in charge of all of the character colors. And I have seen complaints about the colors for several of the figures, but since I'm more of a casual fan, it's not something I generally notice, besides obviously weird decos like Indo Foxy. Wave 3 of the Indo series has been revealed as well. This wave will feature the toy animatronics, and includes the Indo O2 skeleton this time, which only looks a bit different to me. The toys come with their regular looks as well as their FNAF AR digitized looks, the same ones that Funko had made in their line. Like I said, I kind of like these weird translucent plastic designs, and the regular toy animatronics look great to me. Mangle is also getting an Indo series toy, but his release is a bit different. It comes with the regular Mangle, who's mostly made up of Indo skeleton pieces, and it also comes with Shadow Mangle, a black repaint of the same toy. I think the set is a bit weird. Mangle looks great, don't get me wrong, but I would have expected it to come with pieces to build Funtime Foxy. I'm excited and extremely curious to see where the Indo series goes. I'm really wondering how they're going to do Springtrap, who obviously has a human inside of him rather than an Indo skeleton, and I'm also curious on how the security breach designs would look. Not to mention the Mimic, who is usually dressed as lumpy characters in heavy fabric costumes. It's all very fun to think about, and I'm interested to see what Jazwares cooks up in the future. From Funko to Jazwares, the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has had a long history with action figures. And while it wasn't always great, I think there are plenty of great action figures from both companies. I know recent Jazwares FNAF product has been hard to find, but just give it time. Whenever a hyped up new toy line starts, this usually happens, because retailers like to order a cautious amount of product just in case it doesn't sell. And I've heard restocks are rolling in, at least here in the US. So just be on the lookout and don't give in to FOMO. It is simply not worth it to pay 5 times the price for these toys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you'd like to support me further, I have YouTube memberships and Patreon. For $1 a month, both give you the same thing. Access to members exclusive bonus videos, as well as an invite to my super chill Discord server. Alright y'all, see you in the next one. Ciao. Oh, also I'm just gonna throw this at the end here. I kind of forgot to add this to the script, but one of my channel members made this really badass, I don't know, like 3D Roblox model of my dumbjake character as a FNAF animatronic. It's just too badass. I had to throw it at the end of the video here to show y'all. But shout out to Goober the Tuber for making this model. He said he made it in like 2 hours or something, which is crazy. So shout outs, man. Thank you. This is really cool.